Hey everyone, welcome back to TV Deep Dive. I'm your host, Amelia, and today we're breaking down the absolute bombshell that was episode 7 of Beyond the Gates. If you thought the drama was intense before, this episode just took everything to a whole new level. Before we dive in, make sure to hit that subscribe button and notification bell so you never miss our weekly recaps of this incredible show. And fair warning, this is a full recap with all the spoilers, so if you haven't watched episode 7 yet, you might want to come back after you've seen it. All right, let's get into House of Cards, the episode that just changed everything we thought we knew about Oakwood Estates and the families who live there. After 6 episodes of slow burning tension and carefully planted seeds, episode 7 delivers the explosive payoff we've been waiting for. House of Cards centers around the Oakwood Estates annual board election, an event that quickly transforms from a routine power play into a complete upheaval of the community's hierarchy. With Vernon Dupree's business improprieties now circulating as rumors throughout the community, the election becomes a referendum on his leadership. Meanwhile, the fallout from Nicole and Ted's separation reaches a breaking point, and Dani's whistleblowing efforts finally bear fruit in unexpected and dangerous ways. What makes this episode particularly brilliant is how it brings together multiple storylines that have been developing since the pilot. Relationships fracture, alliances shift, and secrets that characters have desperately tried to keep buried come crashing into the light. By the end of this hour, the power structure of Oakwood Estates is fundamentally transformed. Let's break down exactly what happened in this game-changing episode. The episode opens with preparations for the Oakwood Estates board election, traditionally a ceremonial affair where Vernon Dupree is automatically reinstated as chairman. This year, however, there's palpable tension as Bill Hamilton has mounted a serious challenge, leveraging the growing whispers about Vernon's business ethics. The production design deserves special mention here. The community clubhouse is transformed into a political battleground with subtle visual cues. Vernon's side features darker blues and golds, traditional colors suggesting established power, while Bill's campaign uses lighter blues and silvers, suggesting a fresh alternative while still maintaining wealth signifiers. Anita Dupree's barely contained anxiety is brilliantly portrayed through tight close-ups and her unusually frenetic movements, a stark contrast to her typically controlled demeanor. The director makes excellent use of background activity, with community members visibly taking sides and engaging in hushed conversations that stop when either Vernon or Bill approaches. The episode picks up 3 weeks after Nicole discovered Ted's financial fraud and moved back to her parents' house. Their confrontation in the community park is heartbreaking. Nicole's raw emotional pain contrasts with Ted's desperate attempts to justify his actions. The revelation that he's been secretly liquidating her inheritance to cover his investment losses adds another layer of betrayal. After 6 episodes of tension, we finally understand the full history between these two women. The flashback sequence revealing their romantic relationship in college abruptly ended when their father's rivalry intensified, provides crucial context for their current dynamic. Their clandestine meeting to share information about both their father's illegal activities represents a significant shift from adversaries to unlikely allies. Martin's continued refusal to publicly acknowledge their relationship at community functions finally pushes Smitty to deliver an ultimatum. Their argument in their modernist kitchen, all cold surfaces and sharp angles mirroring their cutting words, shows how social pressures have fractured what once seemed like the most genuine relationship in the community. Perhaps most fascinating is the evolving tension between Vernon and Anita. As Vernon becomes increasingly desperate to maintain control, we see Anita beginning to calculate her own path forward. Their bedroom scene, where she subtly questions his strategies while appearing supportive, masterfully showcases the complex power dynamics in their marriage. After discovering her sister Leslie's involvement in manipulating property values, Eva faces her own ethical crisis. Her confrontation with Leslie reveals how complicit she herself has become in the community's corruption, setting up her potential redemption arc. The centerpiece of the episode is the election itself, a master class in building tension through seemingly civilized proceedings. Director brilliantly uses increasingly unstable camera work, beginning with steady, formal framing and gradually introducing subtle handheld moments as control slips away from Vernon. 1. Vernon's opening speech, confident but tinged with defensiveness as he references unfounded rumors about his business practices. 2. Bill Hamilton's surprising restraint as he presents himself as a reluctant challenger forced to act by ethical concerns rather than personal ambition. 3. The shocking moment when Martin Richardson stands to publicly endorse Bill over his brother-in-law Vernon, creating visible fissures in the family alliance. 4th, Leslie Thomas's calculated move to distribute printouts of questionable financial transactions just before the vote, timed perfectly to maximize damage. The brilliant visual of Anita's face as votes are counted, showing her mentally calculating next steps even as her husband's position collapses. The sequence culminates in Vernon losing the chairmanship by 2 votes. A public humiliation made worse when we see Ted Richardson was one of those who voted against him, clearly retaliating for how the Duprees have supported Nicole in the separation. Immediately following his defeat, Vernon makes a series of frantic phone calls revealing his plan to accelerate the controversial land development before Bill can block it. His conversation with an unnamed government official suggests corruption extending beyond Oakwood Estates. Dani meets with a journalist, providing documents about both her father's and Bill Hamilton's illegal activities. The cafe setting for this meeting creates false security that's shattered when she notices someone photographing them from outside, indicating her actions have been discovered. While searching for financial documents in Ted's home office, Nicole discovers evidence connecting Ted to both her father's and Bill's questionable land deals, suggesting the rivalry between the families may be more performance than reality. The moment she realizes both family empires could be built on the same corrupt foundation is brilliantly acted. After learning the full extent of her father's illegal activities from Dani, Chelsea confronts Bill in his study. Their explosive argument reveals Bill's justification that Vernon's methods of acquiring the original Oakwood Estates land included forcing out working-class black families, and his own questionable actions were meant as long-term revenge for those displacements. The episode's most shocking sequence begins when Anita returns home to find Vernon burning documents in their fireplace. Their confrontation leads to the episode's bombshell revelation. The Marcus mentioned throughout the season was Marcus Thomas, Leslie and Eva's father, who was Vernon's original business partner in developing Oakwood Estates. Documents reveal that Vernon engineered Marcus's financial ruin and subsequent death, presented as a suicide, allowing him to take full control of the development. This revelation recontextualizes everything we know about the Thomas sisters. Leslie's calculated moves against the Duprees aren't just ambition, but methodical revenge, while Eva's moral qualms stem from suspicions about what really happened to their father. The scene between Vernon and Anita after this revelation is devastating. His attempt to justify his actions as necessary sacrifices to build something lasting collides with her horror at learning the true foundation of their wealth and status. A montage shows papers being served to multiple community members. The SEC is investigating financial improprieties throughout Oakwood Estates, suggesting someone, beyond just Dani, has been providing authorities with information. Meanwhile, Nicole confronts Ted about his connections to both her father's and Bill's illegal activities. His desperate explanation is cut short when she reveals she's been recording their conversation, intending to use it as leverage in their divorce. The most chilling sequence shows Leslie Thomas viewing old photographs of her father while listening to a voicemail from an anonymous caller confirming, "The plan is in motion," suggesting her revenge extends beyond mere social and financial ruin for the Duprees. The episode ends on a perfect cliffhanger. Anita Dupree, alone in her bedroom, removes a hidden key from her jewelry box and opens a floor safe containing a USB drive and a gun. As she stares at these items, considering her options, the screen cuts to black, The revelation about Marcus Thomas forces us to reconsider the entire foundation of Oakwood Estates. The community, presented initially as an achievement of Black excellence, is revealed to have been built on betrayal and possibly murder. This complicates our view of Vernon, who justified his actions as necessary for creating generational Black wealth. The suggestion that Vernon and Bill's rivalry may be partly performance, while they're both involved in the same corrupt dealings, adds fascinating complexity. Their public animosity serves to distract from their mutual involvement in questionable business practices. This episode marks a significant shift as the women of Oakwood Estates begin seizing power from the men who built the community. Anita, Nicole, Dani, Chelsea, and Leslie are all making moves independent of the men in their lives, suggesting a potential matriarchal restructuring of power. The conflict between preserving wealth built through questionable means versus establishing new ethical foundations continues to divide the older and younger characters. Chelsea and Dani's alliance represents the younger generation's rejection of their parents' moral compromises. The performances in this episode are exceptional, particularly from the actresses playing Anita and Leslie, whose subtle expressions convey decades of calculated moves and suppressed emotions. The writing deftly balances shocking revelations with believable character motivations, ensuring that even the most dramatic moments feel earned. After this game-changing episode, here are the burning questions for the remaining season. 1. What exactly is on Anita's hidden USB drive, and what is she planning to do with the gun? 2. Is Leslie working with authorities, or is her plan something more personally destructive for the Duprees? 3. Will Chelsea and Dani's alliance evolve into something romantic again? Or will their family's history prevent reconciliation? 4. How will the community realign now that Vernon has lost his leadership position and multiple families face legal scrutiny? 5. What will happen to Oakwood Estates itself if both founding families are legally compromised? Discuss fan theories and potential storylines. My prediction is that Anita will emerge as the true power player. Her careful documentation of Vernon's activities suggests she's been preparing for his downfall while maintaining plausible deniability for herself. The USB likely contains evidence that could either destroy or save her family, depending on how she chooses to use it. House of Cards delivers exactly what a mid-season episode should. It pays off storylines that have been building while setting up even more compelling conflicts for the season's final arc. The power dynamics of Oakwood Estates have been completely upended, with the women emerging as the most strategic players in this complex game. The brilliant writing, directing, and performances have elevated Beyond the Gates from an entertaining drama about wealthy families to a nuanced examination of ambition, ethics, and the true cost of the American dream. What did you think of this episode? Were you shocked by the revelations about Marcus Thomas? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this breakdown, please hit that like button and subscribe for weekly recaps of Beyond the Gates and all your other favorite shows. Next week's episode promises to show the immediate fallout from these revelations, and I can't wait to break it down with you. Thanks for watching.